Okay, so this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to start UVing process on the interior of this. Now, the interior and exterior is a moot point because actually if you unify the outside area, it's going to be unified on the inside. It's so much easier to work on the outside of something like this than it is the interior, because now you don't have to look up just to kind of see if your ceiling looks right. Okay. So I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna actually wipe out my UVs here. I just kind of want to show you things like, notice these are stacked. These are not stacked, and we're gonna look at stacking UVs. We're gonna look at multiple materials and how they work, and what are the rules, because are there rules? Okay, so that's all coming up here. First off, I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to take all my UVs and delete them. Let's start over. You should probably do the same thing. Now keep in mind, I'm going to be doing the same thing over and over. Just like the last video, I had that material. I'm not going to keep making that material every video. That would take forever. So notice that there is a material in here called UVs. And the UVs are going to be those checkerboards. Okay, they're not showing up right now because I don't have any UVs whatsoever. All right, now last video we looked at cylindrical mapping. In this video we're going to look at planar mapping, and I'll show you the difference. Let me just maybe grab just this one huge building right here with faces and say, all right, well, I want to cylindrically map all these. Well, if I do a cylindrical mapping, what's going to happen is, notice the outside edge. This one right here, this UV right here is longer, and then it starts getting into shorter ones and then longer again. That's a really hard thing to kind of repair. So I'm going to undo that and teach you planar mapping. Now, let's take and utilize our front side view as much as we can. Okay, we're going to be jumping back and forth, so just get kind of used to that. If you're coming right out of modeling 1 class, you better be having a fresh mind when coming into this one. So look at this. I grab both of these. Well, technically I can plane both of these at the same time. So this is my front view. And I'm going to go into create planar map. Okay. Now what that did is it made 2 separate shells. I can move them off to the side. There are 2 shells here, and how you separate them, if you want to separate them, but you shouldn't. If you go to highlight one UV, hold Control, right click to shell, hit W on the keyboard, you'll notice that there's 2 shells here. Okay. I'm going to leave the shell stacked. Now, important to know that this UVing process that I'm about to show you is just one of many. This UVing process will not allow you to bake textures at the end. Okay? Just know that. If you're looking for a baked texture workflow, you're going to have to keep the shells not stacked, because if you bake the texture, it's going to appear on all the shells at the same time. We'll get into baking textures later. So this time I've got these 2 shells right here. I'm going to go into this, and I'm going to create planar map. Go to UV, hit W, move those off. Now I could stack these right on top of the other ones. They're all square. And these are all going to be the same material. This will actually help the material and keep it all unified. Okay, so there's one building. Now this building might have something different, so I'm going to UV planar map it separately. So here, same process. You can see that select back, front and back. And technically, I don't have to remove this from this area. So that might save you some time of trying to line up things. And that's our role as texture artists. We think of shortcuts to make our workflow not so boring. There we go. Now certainly there is a difference here of scale. Okay, so if you look at by plane mapping this one, this scale's different correlating to this one. Now that's going to work great if they're two separate materials. If they're the same materials, I'm going to have to make two different materials for those correlating to the size. It's kind of hard to explain that, but it would be much better for me to take the shells and try to unify both the textures just in case. So there we go. So I uniformly scaled that. Do not scale it this way. Do not scale it that way. Uniformly scale it only to keep that look. I'm going to take these UV shells and I'm going to move them over here just for a second. And then I'm going to start working on the top building here. This time I'm doing it a little bit faster because I already showed you the difference between removing them and not removing them. So and again, I am kind of concerned about scale, so I am going to go like this. Keep all these about the same size. Okay, good. Move that shell off to the side. Okay, I want to continue this in the next video. I don't want to run out of time. So in the next video, I'll do the ceilings and some more.